All right, so let's just talk about some of the new things. Obviously, the first new thing that people are super excited about, of course, are the new Distress Minis. So some of the great features about these mini ink pads is you're going to notice that they're stackable. They interlock together, which is great for storage. It's also great for transportation. If you want to do the labels just like all of our other Ranger products, you can go to our website and download the mini labels that already have the color name and the color printed on them, so you can print them off, cut them out, and stick them on the side. Another thing that's important to understand is that this is exactly the same ink formulation as the big guys. Same ink, but also same felt. So what was really important is that Distress, it has that really thick raised felt that's important in an ink pad. The minis do as well. So they really come off the case, and this is going to be helpful for anyone that likes to do a lot of direct to paper or direct to surface, where you want to use it and apply it directly to a surface. Having that raised off the case makes it really easy. Some other things that we have in the mini zone, of course, are the new mini blending tools. Now, these little guys, they're 2 in a package. It's the same blending foam that would be on the large blending tool, but it's smaller and it's a different shape. And I'll show you some features about this. So, first of all, if we're going to work on a background, if we were going to do a tag or a regular background, you would still want to stick with a full-size or regulation size blending tool if we were going to do the background of a tag or a large area, because this is still going to give us more surface coverage than anything else, all right? But what the mini blending tool will do is this is going to allow us to do smaller areas. So if you like to just ink the edges of die cuts or photos or things like that, this is really convenient because we can put that in a mini pad, a big pad, and this is going to really give us a lot more control going around. It just makes it a little easier. And having that round edge also smooths out just a little bit more than using a large blending tool. So this doesn't replace the big one, this just gives you a different application for that. If you do any small pieces, like let's say you die cut things, same thing. This is going to allow us to go in and really get into those smaller areas to do that. But my favorite thing about the mini blending tool is the ability to use this with stencils, okay? So let's say I want to take a layering stencil, okay? Now if I want to take a layering stencil and I want to stencil, I can place this down, and let's work with some different colors here. I can go in and line these guys up. So one of my things, obviously I work with the big Distress pads mostly, but I found when I'm stenciling, I love the minis because it's kind of like my instant palette right there. I can work with these little guys. Let's use some antique linen as well. All right. So here, if I'm going to place down my layering stencil, what this is going to do, whether you're using inks, whether you're using paints, it's going to allow us to take that tool and apply the ink in a pouncing motion, something we've never really been able to do with the regular blending tool because that's always going to leave a harsh line. This will not. It's also going to allow us to just take little bits of color and create that soft blended look. And I'll show you with a couple of different stencils because I really want to point out stencils that have larger open areas as well. But I like this wood grain one, so. And again, you just want to kind of feather out those edges. Gives you a really cool look. I mean, simple, right? I mean, all we're doing is this, and we don't have any of those harsh lines, which is cool. So if I wanted to, and let's say I was working with a larger surface, let's take something like this, okay? I can do the same thing, and maybe we're gonna work with some other colors. We'll use a little bit of peacock feathers as well. So I'm gonna use the same blending tool. I don't mind mixing up my colors. It's not gonna contaminate my ink pad in any way. But even like this is going to allow me to go in and really soften out a lot of that color on a surface. Now, if you still want to go in that circular motion to soften it, you can. That's another nice thing. And the reason this works so well is the foam on the tool is cut slightly larger than the handle or the base of it. So in other words, when I press down, see how it rolls around? So it lifts that edge of the foam off the surface. That's what it does, okay? So here, we're able to get a really great, yeah, it just looks like it's been airbrushed on there, which is cool. Now let's see if it's, yeah, you can see the depth in there. It's pretty cool. All right, so if I want to, also I can use this with paint, all right? So let's go in and talk about using this with paint. All right, I've got this little guy, and this guy, paint, all right? So another thing that's important that I keep reminding people is blending foam is washable and reusable. So even though you're using it, let's say like the paint on here is dry, I can still wash this out and reuse it. Now distress paint is why this is reusable, because distress paint doesn't have any fillers in it. So this foam is still just as squishy and soft even though it's covered in dry paint. Okay? If this was a different type of paint, like maybe Adirondacks or anything, it would have hardened and then you couldn't reuse it. But with distress paint, because it doesn't have any fillers, wash this with soap and water even though it's dry and reuse it for other things. So you don't want to throw away your blending foam. If I want to go in on a different surface, maybe we take a different type of layering stencil. Let's take a different pattern. We want to take some hearts, perhaps. You can tell I really like to clean my stencils. I clean my stencils like I clean my stamps. Just going to take a few colors and just apply that to the craft sheet. And this is just distress paint. I'm going to go in with that mini blending tool, and same thing, I'm just going to go in and apply my colors this way. And just in that pouncing motion. So this same thing, you can pounce it, you can kind of twist it around, just depends on kind of the look that you want. And I like the ability also to go in and just layer on top of this. And I'm just going to fade that out just around some of the edges. Let's go right off the side with that one. Simple. Yeah, really easy to do. And that could be a resist, that could be, you know, anything you want. All right. So far, so good.